One day I'm at this restaurant, and this restaurant has like a children play area outside, and children are playing. There's sand. I think it had rained a bit, so it was both sandy and like a bit wet. And this child, of course, went, a young girl, and she played her heart out, and she came back dirty, head to toe dirty. And the mom, of course, started playing this game where it was like, me, you're not my child. How can you look like this? How can you look? Of course, she was just playing and making the child, and the child started crying. She's like, Mommy, I'm your child. I'm your child, Mommy. And she's trying to hug the mother, and the mother is like, I think she was looking at her like, if you hug me, you're gonna leave all this dirt and mud on me. And it was so funny to watch, and of course, people were really laughing at this child crying and being denied in quotes. And later on, of course, it was all quiet and funny. But the thing is, if that they reminded me that even us back in the day, we'd behave in certain ways, and our parents would tell us, you are not my children. My children don't behave like that. My children do not behave like that. Why? Because how a child looks, how a child behaves, sometimes is a reflection of the parents. And you and I, we don't want to point fingers and hurt any parent, but I'm sure you've been in a situation where you looked at a child, you're like, mtoto ni wanani? Whose child is this? Why is this child behaving like this? Whose child is this? Yeah. And I think one of the things that I see in the Bible is that constantly we see us being reminded that God is our shepherd. God is our shepherd. Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And he makes me lie down in green pastures, and he refreshes my soul. And all the things that Psalm 23 says is a reminder that God is our shepherd. He's the great shepherd. He's the good shepherd. But I find it interesting that in the psalm that we are in today, which is Psalm chapter 80, it's actually the psalmist reminding God that he's our shepherd. And I found that to be an interesting shift, because a lot of times we are asked to remember that God is our shepherd, but in this psalm, the psalmist is reminding God that he's the shepherd, and that the kingdom of Israel is not looking very much like it's shepherded by God. Here's what it says in verse 1. Hear us, shepherd of Israel, you who led Joseph like a flock, you who sit enthroned between the cherubim, shine forth before Ephraim, Benjamin, and Manasseh. Awaken your might, come and save us. Restore us, O God. Make your face shine on us, that we may be saved. This psalmist is reminding God that, you are our shepherd, and we need you to arise. We need you to awaken in your might. Come and save us, right? This is a very interesting way to look at this scripture and to see this shift. That sometimes we not only need to remember that God is our shepherd, but we need to remind him, not that he forgets, but we need to go before God with confidence and say, imagine you're my shepherd, and right now my life is not looking very much like it. Help me that my life can align to look like you're really my shepherd. Verse 6 of Psalm chapter 80 says this: you have made us an object of derision to our neighbors, and our enemies mock us. Yeah. The Message version says, you make us look ridiculous to our friends. Our enemies poke fun day after day. These neighbors are doing the thing that we were talking about earlier, where they're like, whose children are these? And sometimes we have to realize that our lives are a portrayal of the fact that we are shepherded by God. When you read Psalm 23 talks about the refreshing that God brings, the rest that God brings in our lives, the right direction, because it says you lead me along the right path. So the right direction, the protection. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, that's protection. Provision. My cup will run over. That's spoken about there. And I will dwell in the presence of the Lord, or in the house of the Lord forever. God's presence. And wanted to ask you today, are these things evident in your life? Can the people around you, Psalm chapter 80 verse 6 talks about your neighbors or our neighbors, but can the people around you look and be like, actually, these things are evident in Frank's life. Frank is refreshed by God. Frank is given direction. He's led of God. He's protected by God. He's provided for by God. The presence of God is in his life. Can these things be said of me? If these things cannot be said of me, and sometimes if my life cannot show these things, it's not that I'm going out there to make it look like, no, but if there's evidence, if my life does not have evidence of these things, I can go to God and be like, right now, God, because I don't feel like I'm walking in your presence, then I need you to come. I need you to come and make it, because you're my shepherd. I need you to provide for me, because you're my shepherd. I need you to protect me in this situation, because you're my shepherd. I need you to direct me in this and lead me in this situation, because you're my shepherd. You know, the neighbors are watching. I've told people that you're my God. I've told people that you're my shepherd, and I pray that my life can reflect that you really, really are. Can your life reflect that God is your shepherd? Does your situation, does your circumstance right now, how you're living right now, does it show that really, really God is your shepherd? Does it reflect? Are you a good reflection of the shepherding of God? If you're not, and there's an area in your life, whether it's in direction and protection or provision or any one of the areas that we've mentioned, if there's an area in your life that is not representing the shepherding of God, this psalm reminds you to go back to him and remind him. Tell him that in this place in my life, maybe it's in a relationship, maybe it's at work, and you're not being able to really do the work that you need to do well, or maybe it's in your parenting. There's a place where you're struggling and you're like, I don't feel like this area of my life is representing the shepherding capacity and ability of God. Go back to him, and like Psalm chapter 80 verse 1 to 3 shows us, you can ask God to come and truly show that He's the one shepherding and leading you, and your life can reflect it. And so if there's any area of your life that is not reflecting that, my encouragement to you is to go to God and ask Him to come through and make that area align with the fact that He is the good shepherd in your life and mine, and let it really, really tell the story that we are led of God, we are guided of God, and we are shining for God. To His glory and to His fame. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Psalm chapter 80. This is Reflections by Wakeji. See you, and let's catch up in the next chapter of the Bible. Goodbye.